Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into a full college football week 2 preview. I think I'm going to be starting to do this every single week, just give you guys kind of an outline for every single game, kind of a rapid fire style for week 2 in college football. And guys, you want to know what's great about this? They have the weather conditions now. So we can talk about kind of the weather to expect for some of these games. People really underestimate how much the weather actually has an impact on the games. I'm not just talking about rain versus sun. Overcast versus sun has an impact. It changes the entire vibe of the game. But guys, I'm just going to kind of talk about every single game, give you guys the best games to look for in the noon window, the 3:30 window, and then the primetime window for week 2. Week 1 last week, phenomenal. Ole Miss destroyed Louisville last night. That's a bit annoying. They're probably going to get ranked the SEC. It is what it is, guys. Let's take a look. No Thursday games, no Wednesday games, no MAC action going on right now with the weekday games, unfortunately. But we've got a Friday game here. Kansas, Coastal Carolina. Coastal Carolina should destroy Kansas. Kansas is 1-0. They beat South Dakota last week, but yeah, Coastal Carolina minus 25.5. 81 degrees and sunny. Very hot there. North Carolina A&T taking on Duke. Duke lost last week. There's no line for this game. I would expect Duke to win. That's an 8 o'clock start. Still on Friday, we've got North Dakota and Utah State. You know, I remember watching Utah State last week at around 1 a.m. They were on. They're 1-0 taking on North Dakota, an FCS school. You'd expect Utah State to handle business there. UTEP taking on Boise State. Boise State coming off that big-time loss last week against UCF. They're going to be pissed. Minus 26, point favorites. 88 degrees. Oh, my goodness. There's no weather for this game. That's the disappointing. Illinois and Virginia, I love the under in this game. So we're on to Saturday, 11 a.m. start time. Very odd. They're going to be sleepwalking. I love the under. It's 55 right now. Virginia, 10-point favorites. 11:30 start time. Western Kentucky taking on Army. Army, 7-point favorites. Nice 75-degree weather. You'll take that. VMI taking on Kent State. A little MAC team trying to get a win. They're 0-1 right now. That's an 11:30 start. And we've got the doozy, guys. My guess is Ohio State. The AP poll is coming out today. I'm guessing Ohio State moves to ranked. They're going to move up one spot to third. They're probably going to pass Oklahoma and Clemson, but then they're going to get passed by Georgia, who's probably going to be second. And then you've got Oregon, who will probably be ranked right around 11. They struggled last weekend with Fresno State. That's some nice weather conditions. You've got a little partly cloudy, 78 degrees. Ohio State, 14.5. That line keeps jumping. We'll have to see with Oregon and their injuries, how they will do. But I would expect Ohio State to really put it on Oregon. That's a noon start. Alabama State and Auburn. Dude, Auburn faced Akron last week, too. That's probably the two easiest teams. They're probably going to have the worst strength of schedule through 2 weeks. You go from Akron to facing Alabama State. Goodness, Bo Nix is going to be a Heisman favorite after this. Another noon start, South Carolina, East Carolina. Is that game in East Carolina? Wow, East Carolina 2-point favorites, 83 degrees. This is a good one. Pitt taking on Tennessee. Boy, if you're the ACC, you need Pitt to win this game. They're 3.5-point favorites. It's going to be a hot one. These conditions are out of control. It's 84 degrees, folks. How about Kennesaw State taking on Georgia Tech? You'd expect Georgia Tech to take care of business there. Norfolk State, another FCS, taking on Wake Forest. How about sunny in 84? Youngstown State and Michigan State. Michigan State looked good last week. Let's not overreact, guys. I expect a very down year from Northwestern. I will say Kenneth Walker, 264 rushing yards on 4 touchdowns. It's impressive. It is impressive. Early Heisman favorite, question mark? I don't know. Another noon start, Miami of Ohio. That's a MAC team taking on Minnesota without Ibrahim. He's out with the ACL. He had 30 carries, 163 yards, and 2 touchdowns in 3 quarters against Ohio State. Minnesota, around 20-point favorites. You'd think they would handle business there. Ohio State fans sure hope Minnesota is able to win that game. Another noon start, Indiana State taking on Northwestern. Northwestern trying to get right. Guys, quite honestly, I don't really care what the spread is. I would probably take Indiana State in this game. I just think Northwestern is terrible this year. That's just my personal opinion. I think Northwestern will probably be like 20-point favorites. I don't think they'd cover, honestly. Tulsa taking on Oklahoma State. How about Tulsa coming off their embarrassing FCS loss to UC Davis? They take on Oklahoma State, 99 degrees. Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen. Oklahoma State, I forget who they played last week, but it was an ugly win. I like the over 52.5, although maybe because it's 99 degrees, maybe you might go with the under. Florida goes to South Florida, Raymond James Stadium. That's home of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Florida, 4 touchdown favorites. I'll take South Florida to cover that spread. A little disrespectful, although South Florida is horrific this year. So we'll have to see. Morgan State and Tulane. We obviously know what happened with Tulane last week. They nearly upset Oklahoma. You've got that Michael Pratt kid that people say he's a gamer. Tulane probably heavy favorites in that one, taking on an FCS school. Wyoming and Northern Illinois. Wyoming, 7-point favorites. Interesting game in Illinois. There's no... Do we have any... Boy, I hate when they don't have the weather. Middle Tennessee taking on Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech, 19-point favorites, probably going to be ranked coming off their big win against North Carolina. We'll see if they can continue at home. This is a 2 o'clock start. We're moving to the mid-afternoon games. How about Rutgers and their huge win week 1? They'll be taking on Syracuse in the Carrier Dome. This would be huge for the Big Ten if Rutgers wins this game. I really do like Rutgers, guys. -2. I love that line for Rutgers. How about Duquesne taking on Ohio U in Athens, Ohio? That's a 2 o'clock start time. 2:30. This is on Peacock, which is really weird. If I'm a Notre Dame fan, I'm pissed. Why are you streaming games? They should all be on cable, especially a team like Notre Dame. They're taking on a really good Toledo team from the MAC. Notre Dame originally was a 19-point favorites, but it's come down after Toledo's big week 1 win. Jack Cohn really did shut me up. I got to be honest. I was kind of talking crap about him. He played really well week 1, and they needed every bit of it. 366 yards, 4 touchdowns. I didn't think he had it in him. That was impressive. Notre Dame and Toledo. That's an underrated game. Moving on to the 3 o'clock games, Purdue and UConn. Purdue, really 33.5-point favorites. UConn, perhaps the worst, one of the worst, teams, in all of college football. Wow, that's a big spread there. Where's the weather at, though? Robert Morris and Central Michigan. Who cares? UAB and Georgia. I did see something about Georgia struggling with the little, issues with the virus, so we'll have to see what happens there. But I do like Georgia -25. I think they're due for a bigger offensive output. UAB's a good team, don't get me wrong, but I don't know. I think Georgia's going to score 40+, and they have a great defense, so they probably won't allow anything more than 10. That's 87 degrees. That's going to be a hot one in Athens, Georgia. How about Texas A&M and Colorado, guys? I love Colorado +17. 90 degrees in Denver. Wow. I love Colorado +17. I was not impressed with Texas A&M and their new starting quarterback week 1 against Kent State. I know they nearly covered the spread, or maybe they did cover the spread. They didn't look good in the first half. They really didn't. Murray State and Cincinnati. That should be an easy win for Cincinnati. Ball State, a little overrated MAC team. People thought Ball State was going to be really good. They didn't return very many people. Penn State, right now, they're ranked 19th. With the updated AP poll, I would expect Penn State probably to be ranked maybe 13th or 12th. That was a big win for Penn State, although I'm still not that impressed with Sean Clifford and that offense. 74 degrees, beautiful conditions. Georgia Southern and FAU. FAU 7-point favorites. We've got Boston College and UMass. You know what? I'll take UMass +37.5 in this one. I know they're terrible. They just fired their coach. That game's at UMass. Wow. Yeah, that's a steal if you can get UMass +37.5. That's a 3:30 start time. We don't know about the weather on that one. Where's the wet? Some of these games don't have weather conditions. We've got Buffalo at Nebraska. Nebraska, 13.5-point favorites. Buffalo's a good football team, guys. Before the season, I picked Buffalo to upset Coastal Carolina week 3. We'll see if they're able to do it next week, but 13.5 is an interesting spread there in Lincoln. We're on to the 3:30 slate now. We've got another 3:30 game. How about California at TCU? I love TCU this year, -10. That's a great spread. That's a low over-under at 49 as well. It's probably going to be a hot one. How about Temple at Akron? Akron is a terrible football team. Ohio State actually faces Akron, I believe, week 4. Yeah, because week 3, Ohio State faces Tulsa. Temple at Akron. Temple minus 6.5. Temple looked terrible week 1, too, so those are some pretty bad football teams. Another 3:30 game. How about Air Force and Navy? Oh, I love it. CBS game, too. I don't know if CBS lost the rights to do SEC games, but Air Force 6.5-point favorites. The over-under 41. That's a low number. 2 running teams. I love games like that. We've got Mercer at Alabama. It's going to be 88 degrees in Tuscaloosa. My guess, the line would be about Alabama minus 48.5 in this one when they come out with the line. We've got South Alabama at Bowling Green. South Alabama 15-point favorites in that one. That's a 4 o'clock start. We're moving on to the 4 o'clock games. We've got the big ABC game. This is where College Game Day is going to be. It's Iowa at Iowa State. Iowa State 4.5-point favorites. Iowa looked really good week 1. This is going to be a very close game. I think I would take Iowa plus 4.5. I don't know if they'll win outright, but I would take them plus 4.5. How about SC State at Clemson? Clemson trying to come back after their terrible loss. I think that spread's going to be Clemson minus 46 if that comes out. We've got Long Island University taking on West Virginia, another 5 o'clock start in Morgantown. How about Illinois State and Western Michigan? I have no clue why Western Michigan changed their logo to this. It looks like Washington football team's logo. It's terrible. It looks like a 3rd grader did it. They had a sweet Bronco logo, and then they changed it to this crap. It's like a 2nd grader made their logo. Western Michigan got destroyed last week at Michigan. That was an impressive win for the Wolverines, I'm not going to lie. A 6 o'clock start, Gardner-Webb and Charlotte. That's on ESPN3 if you're interested. We've got Lamar and UTSA. That's at the Alamo Dome, 6 o'clock start, ESPN3. How about a Pac-12 network game? Portland State and Washington State. Washington State trying to get their first win of the year. North Carolina Central taking on Marshall. That's a late afternoon, early evening 6:30 start, 80 degrees. We've got Houston at Rice. 93 degrees and sunny. Houston trying to get back on track. 8-point favorites in that one. We've got Bethune-Cookman taking on UCF. That game's 91 degrees. I would think UCF would destroy them. How about Western Carolina at Oklahoma? Wow, Oklahoma's probably going to be about a 41-point favorite in that one. I would expect Spencer Rattler to only play the first half and probably throw 3 or 4 touchdowns. That's in Norman. Eastern Michigan at Wisconsin. Wisconsin's offense, Graham Mertz, did not look good. Look at that. 22 of 37, 185 yards, 2 interceptions, 84 degrees and sunny in Madison, Wisconsin. That's too hot for me, folks. I would not go to that game. 25.5-point favorites, yeah. I mean, I could see them covering that. Wisconsin's offense is going to want to get right. They're going to want to run the ball really well. Mertz will probably throw 2 or 3 touchdown passes. That's a 7 o'clock start. We've got another 7 o'clock start. Appalachian State at Miami. I don't know why Miami was ranked 14th. They got destroyed. It wasn't even close. They're 8-point favorites in this one. Miami got destroyed by Alabama, but 8-point favorites against Appalachian State. That's an ESPNU game. 89 degrees there in Miami. Another 7 o'clock game. This is a sneaky good game. How about Texas at Arkansas? This is another great opportunity for Texas to prove, they're a good team. Obviously, Arkansas is not very good. I think Arkansas was losing to Rice last week at the half. Now, they came back and won 38-17. I believe that was the final. I'm liking Texas minus 6.5. I don't think Arkansas is very good at all. That's an ESPN game at 7 o'clock. How about Nichols at Louisiana? The Raging Cajuns trying to get back on track after their miserable loss to Texas last week. 7 o'clock start there. We're on to another 7 o'clock game. NC State at Mississippi State. This is a huge game for the ACC. The ACC needs this win bad. They need NC State to have a good year and potentially be ranked. NC State minus 2.5 against the air raid offense and Mike Leach. We've got another 7 o'clock game. Texas State at Florida International. Who cares? Another 7 o'clock game. SE Louisiana at Louisiana Tech. 90 degrees there. Another 7 o'clock game. We've got North Texas. I remember them from March Madness at SMU. SMU, the Broncos, 21-point favorites. 96 degrees. Goodness. How about Hampton at Old Dominion? 7 o'clock game on ESPN3. Grambling State at Southern Miss. I always see Southern Miss facing SEC teams when they need an easy win. That's another 7. Good. These games are terrible right now. Another 7 o'clock start. Eastern Kentucky, ACC Network at Louisiana, Louisville. Louisville coming off that embarrassing loss on a short week. I might take Eastern Kentucky to cover the spread, whatever it ends up being. Liberty at Troy, Liberty minus 4.5. Texas Southern at Baylor, 95 degrees in Waco. It's going to be a hot one. How many 7 o'clock games are there? Southern Illinois at Kansas State, 93 degrees. Kansas State coming off that big win in that neutral site game against Stanford. So that'll be interesting. Stephen F. Austin takes on Texas Tech, 95 degrees. Memphis at Arkansas. Oh, my God. Memphis at Arkansas. Yeah, I would think Memphis would cover a 5-point spread, although I don't know much about Arkansas State, excuse me. New Mexico State at New Mexico, a little rivalry there. I like that. New Mexico State's already played 2 games because they were involved in some week 0 action. We've got the University of New Mexico as around 19-point favorites in that one. Georgia State at North Carolina. North Carolina and Sam Howell trying to get back on track after their disappointing week 1 loss at Virginia Tech. They're going to be about 25.5-point favorites in that one. How about Idaho at Indiana? This is a 7:30 game on BTN. Indiana trying to get back. I keep thinking it's Indiana's trying to get back on track versus Idaho at home. Those two teams both start with I. I keep getting it confused. Another 7:30 game. Missouri at Kentucky. Here's an SEC game, and this should be a relatively good game. Kentucky 5-point favorites. That should be a competitive game. That's on the SEC network. I don't think I even have the SEC network. I have the Big Ten network, but I don't have the SEC network. But another 7:30 game, Austin Peay at Ole Miss. Matt Corral, 381 passing yards. I think Ole Miss is going to blow him out. We've got Howard at Maryland. Tua's younger brother is a stud. That's a 7:30 game on BTN. We've got McNeese at LSU. LSU fans worried about attendance issues in this one after their week 1 loss at UCLA. They'll take on a bad McNeese team. I'm guessing they'd be around 35 to 40-point favorites in that one. We'll see if they can get back on track. And then we've got the big ABC game. It's going to be an unranked Washington team because they lost week 1 to Montana, taking on Michigan. Michigan, 6.5-point favorites in this one. Dylan Morris, my goodness. How about 3 interceptions in week 1 against that FCS Montana team? I will say these FCS teams, they're feisty, guys. The FCS teams really aren't that bad. This is ABC's big game. I'm sure they're pissed that Washington lost, but I still think it'll be a low-scoring, close game, honestly. That would be a big win for the Big Ten if Michigan pulls it off. How about Jacksonville State at Florida State? Will we see Mackenzie Milton starting that game? It'll be interesting. Florida State looked good week 1. I still don't think people were talking about, Florida State looks, Mike Norvell, they look better coached. How many, pre-snap infractions did Florida State have week 1? It was disturbing. It was a lot. They need to clean that up. Still an undisciplined football team. Then we've got a 10 o'clock game. Vanderbilt going away to Colorado State. Colorado State 7-point favorites. Vanderbilt coming off an embarrassing week 1 loss. San Diego State at Arizona. Arizona 1-point favorites. Basically a pick 'em. 103 degrees. Maybe a little partly cloudy, maybe not, a little partly cloudy, sprinkle in a few clouds there. How about another 10 o'clock start? Cal Poly and Fresno State. Oregon fans will be very interested in this one. 97 degrees with no clouds in sight. Wow. 10:15 start, Utah at BYU. This is a great game. This would be huge for the Pac-12 if Utah is able to win this game. We've got a 10:30 Stanford and USC. USC 17-point favorites. I think USC runs it up on Stanford. Stanford's not very good this year. USC held serve against a very underrated San Jose State team in week 1. Another 10:30 game. UNLV taking on Arizona State and Jaden Daniels. Arizona State 32.5-point favorites. 106 degrees, folks. And then we've got another 10:30 game, Idaho State at Nevada. If you're interested in that one, it doesn't look like we have a TV provider for that one right now. We'll have to see. Carson Strong looked pretty good week 1, 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's a potential first-round draft pick at the quarterback position. And then we rounded out with Hawaii going on the road to Oregon State on FS1. What a game. What a matchup. Oregon State 11-point favorites and a mild 78-degree day there in Oregon. So guys, those are all of the games. There's definitely some games to watch. I would say you're talking at the noon window. You're looking at the Oregon at Ohio State game. That's going to be a really, really fun one to watch. Then you talk about the 3-4 o'clock window. I would be looking at the Iowa at Iowa State game. And then when it comes to the nightcap, you're looking at maybe the Washington at Michigan game. So guys, those are just a quick preview on the entire slate, week 2 slate. There were a lot of 7 o'clock games on Saturday. My God, it's tough to get through some of those. But guys, make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.